Hey everybody, it's Corey Stewart, and it's a lovely Saturday afternoon. Now I'm going to take it down a notch here today and just talk about something a little bit more, you know, hopefully thought-provoking. What you're seeing in the left today, and a lot of people never saw this side of the far left, probably never even thought about the far left, who they are, Antifa, etc. But you're all seeing it now, and the average American is seeing Antifa. You know, those of us who ran for public office and were confronted by Antifa, we know who they were. A lot of you didn't. But what kind of motivates them? What is this philosophy that motivates the far left? And I just want to talk a little bit about that. But the big question I want to pose to you right away is this: Have you ever noticed that the liberals, somebody who's on the left side of politics, one of the first things they notice about a person, one of the first things they think about a person, is their race? And the reason that they do that is that they believe that your race is inherently connected to who you are as a person. And this is why you hear about it on the left. You don't hear about it much on the right at all, right? On the left, you're hearing about all this stuff, white supremacy, blah, 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 which, it's like, I don't even know one, all right? But according to them, all of us are. And then, but the other thing that they're talking about is white privilege. What is white privilege? Now, what do they say? What do they mean by that? In essence, the left believes, when they talk about white privilege, they believe that you have what you have: your home, your car, your career, your family, everything that you have. You have it because you are inherently born with a privilege, the privilege of being white, okay? And this is a very dangerous, very, very, very dangerous philosophy and ideology. And let me tell you why. Because, you must confront it, folks. Every single one of us, not just me, not just people, on Facebook Live, not just politicians. Every single one of us needs to confront this in our own way. And that is because this idea of white privilege, it means essentially that you have what you have because you're a white, and therefore you don't deserve it. And that if you're black, if your life isn't so good, if you have problems, or even if you do have a successful career, that you are a victim, that you are somehow a victim here in America. Now, there is no question, of course, that your race, your gender, they can have an effect, in some cases, a tremendous effect on your career path, on your life in general, how well you do, your education, all that stuff. But to say that it defines that is just simply not true. If we all have a privilege, our privilege, by the way, is that we were born in this country, that we were born in the United States, regardless of your race, regardless of your religion, regardless of your culture or what state you were born in or you live in. We're all privileged to be born in this country. Now, I've traveled around a lot, and I know a lot of you have as well. About 30 different countries. I've lived in 3. I met my wife Maria in Japan, where I taught as an English teacher for about a year, and she's from Sweden. I spent a lot of time in Sweden, a lot of time in Japan. I lived for about a year in Poland, and when it was still under the control, or right after the communists lost control of Poland. And I've traveled all over Asia and Europe and Africa, and so I think I can say this with some authority. This is by far the best country on the planet. I wouldn't choose to live any place else in the world. And I mean that. I'm not just saying that. And it is because we have opportunities in this country. Now, whether or not you choose to take advantage of those opportunities is up to you. But you have those opportunities. That was your choice. That was all of our choices. But folks, for the most part, people are either in a good situation or a bad situation because of the choices that they made. It's usually not simply because of some outside factor, such as your race, such as your, whether or not you were, raised with, in wealth or whatever. All of us in this country have had opportunities. So what they're trying to do with the far left, Antifa, is they're trying to divide us along these racial lines. And this very dangerous ideology of white privilege, the next step, of course, is this: that if you only have what you have because of your race, and then you don't deserve it, and therefore it would be right to take it from you. And for this reason, it must be confronted. It would rip this country apart. It already is. I ask each and every one of you in your day-to-day conversations with people, when somebody starts talking about white privilege, you tell them the truth and say, look, you know what? I may be black or white or whatever your race is, but for the most part, the life that I'm living is the life that I chose to live. If I chose to study hard and go to a good school and get a good job, that was my decision. If I chose instead to, become a criminal and rip off relatives and, do dirty stuff, and I end up in the gutter, you chose that too. Bad things can happen to good people. This is true. But for the most part, you will have opportunities to make good decisions and good choices that positively affect you and your life. All right. I know that's not my normal, type of speech, but I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And it's one of the things that motivates me a lot, because I see this as a very pernicious ideology that is threatening to divide us along racial lines and threatening essentially to tear apart the American fabric and tear apart our great country. And on a final note, let me just say this. Today is June 6th, I believe. Today is D-Day. And, you've got to, I had the privilege of speaking to one of these gentlemen who stormed the beaches at Normandy. And he was out there to vote for me. This is when I first got into politics. And I was talking to him and about what was it like? What was it like? And he just said, pardon the expression, but he said, you'll shit your pants. He said literally. Because of the absolute fear of going onto that beach. And you think about it. They put that fear. It's normal to be fearful. Just like we are living through these times today. We're fearing for what's happening to the country. But what differentiates those who are good and great from those who are cowards is that you take the fear and you put it aside and you go ahead and you charge the beach. That's what we have to do today. One of the last things I would want to mention is it just astounds me. One of the things about Antifa is they claim to be anti-fascist. They're actually fascists. They use fascist techniques. There really is very little difference between the Antifa use of violence and intimidation and the fear tactics that were used by fascists in Germany and Italy and in Japan during World War II. And these jokers, these Antifa jokers, and most of them are just goobers, right? I mean, they're just morons who, somebody's leading them astray. Compare themselves to the guys who stormed the beaches of Normandy, because the guys who stormed the beaches of Normandy took down fascism. And in the view of the absolute bizarre view of these folks, and Antifa, they believe that they're the same thing because they're against fascists too. Unbelievable. But anyway, look, everybody, if you see a veteran today, give them your thanks. Today is a day in which there are a few World War II veterans left, and if you happen to know one of them, make sure you say hello to them, give them a call or whatever. But take the moment today to thank a veteran in any of those. And actually, take a moment today. Sorry, this fly is bugging me here. Take a moment today to say hello to a police officer. If you know a law enforcement friend, call them up, tell them that you know that they're going through some rough times here, that they don't deserve it, and that you appreciate their service as well. Talk to you soon.